What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the heaviest show in the universe. On today's episode, we are reviewing Slipknot's brand new album, The End, so far. Slipknot really needs no introduction, but I do want to talk about my little bit of history with Slipknot. You see, as a young metal elitist back in high school, I hated these guys. Any chance I could get to shit on Slipknot or Korn or anything like that, I took it. And for years, all through high school, Slipknot was my least favorite out of all of them. I just loved to crap on these guys for no reason. And then I got laid. And I soon started to realize as I grew as a person and as my music taste grew that Slipknot are truly one of the most legendary and awesome bands of all time. And I'll get into those reasons during the review, but honestly, I'll never understand why metal elitists shit on these guys all the time. Even thinking back to when I was a kid and hated these guys, my reasons for it just weren't very good. And honestly, I never even bothered to really give their music a chance and look at it with an open mind. And eventually I started hanging around with more and more people that like Slipknot. One of my closest buddies, the biggest Slipknot fan you'll ever meet in your life. Eventually it grew on me and I started to realize how good these guys actually were. Without further ado, let's hop in and find out if this album holds up to their legacy. So this album starts off with a track called Adderall that's very unlike Slipknot, but very Slipknot in the same way. When I listen to this, even though I know it's not the case, I pictured Corey singing while playing the piano, and it was actually a really cool visual inside my head. But it was more of an intro to the album, and as some of you know, I don't really count intros towards the score of the album. I don't really give them scores. They kind of set the tone for the album, and the tone of this album, The End so far, is this is their last album with Roadrunner Records, and Roadrunner had them since their very first album. They gave them the chance, they gave them their first six-figure signing contract, and now they're moving on. They're the biggest metal band of the last 20-25 years, and now they're moving on for new beginnings, and that's what this album signifies. That's what especially this first track signifies. A few things can be noticed on this first track, and like I said before, it's Corey's vocals. Corey is one of the best vocalists in metal today, an all-time great, and this shows especially on this first track. He's doing things that other people in metal can't necessarily do, and that's actually sing. But moving right along, we have banger after banger after banger for about 4 or 5 songs straight. And this is what Slipknot is so good at. This is what makes Slipknot a legendary band. And taking a look at the Dying song, it's on full display. The intro verse is so damn good. The vocal delivery is perfection. Corey delivers it in his own way, the way that we know him to deliver things, and it sounds fantastic. And everyone else in the band contributes in their own way. It's rhythmic, it's thumping, it slams. It's got the signature Slipknot slam. What makes Slipknot so unique is that slam, is that heaviness that is so incredibly thick, like any death metal band, but is so accessible to almost anyone. I really don't understand how they do it. I don't know what's going on there, but it sounds fantastic. It's addicting. It thumps, it thuds, it's fast, it's rhythmic, it's got groove. It's got everything you need. It's got everything that makes metal fantastic in a simple, condensed package. It makes you want to sing along so bad. That's another thing that Slipknot does so well. The chorus in this song is fantastic. Almost every chorus in this album is great. It makes you want to sing along. You can picture yourself being at a concert, singing these songs with the band. And moving right into the Chapeltown Rag, the first single release from this album, they hit you with blast beats, and that brings in another element of Slipknot that's so fascinating that makes them legendary. Slipknot will never be a death metal band. They aren't a death metal band, and their songs, there's no pure death metal songs within Slipknot. But I'll be damned if anyone tries to tell me that they don't have death metal riffs. They don't have a death metal sound within a vast majority of their music. And that is especially true on this album, and it's signified in the first 2 tracks, The Dying song and Chapeltown Rag. Near the end of this song, they just riff out. It's kind of like I was talking about on Revocation's album, when at the end of the song, man, this band is just gelling and they want to riff out and hang out, and they make you groove, they make you bop, they make you want to move your body with the song, they make you want to just mosh. You're sitting there trying to chill, listen to the album, this comes on, you just want to go nuts. And again, moving into Hive Mind, there's more death metal elements in this song. The pre-chorus is absolutely badass, and there's even some half timing in there and some other odd time changes throughout the song. I'm not trying to say these guys are a technical band or they're progressive or anything. I don't think that at all. But when they want to add those elements, they do a very, very good job. For the first half of this album, the production is on point. Everything sounds really good. You can hear the different members of the band all contributing. This is something that I've always crapped on Slipknot about, even when I've liked them, is they've got so many members of the band and it seems so ridiculous. But even though I never really liked the DJ scratches or the guy on the turntable, you know, he's adding his own element to the band. Hear it within the song and in the samples that they add, and he's in there because he adds samples live, but even when he's on the record and in the production studio, he adds to the song. And you've got the motherfucker who just sits there and slams on that percussion drum, and I've grown to appreciate it, even though I think it's super silly, because it adds to how brutally heavy these guys really are. And this is where I want to talk about Jay Weinberg. One thing I always said about Slipknot, even when I hated them, was that Joey Jordison is one of the best drummers metal has ever seen. That stands true to this day, but Jay has filled in admirably these last 3 albums, and they don't miss a beat with him. Jay fits in perfectly with this band. I've never felt like they were out of place. I never felt like their music sounded drastically different without Joey. And he's a fantastic drummer. He really is. Maybe not to Joey's level. There's no parts of his drumming that blow my mind that are super technical or super off the chain, but he's very good. He's very proficient, and I'm sure he could do those things if he was playing in a band like Animals as Leaders or something. I'm sure he would be able to do that. But what Slipknot requires of him, which is blast beats, excellent timing, excellent rhythm, he does that very well. Sounds very good. Slipknot's always done ballads pretty well, and even in their ballads they add a lot of heavy elements. So songs like Vermilion, Vermilion Part 2, or Snuff. And on this album they have a couple of more ballad type tracks. And Yen's the first one, and I think it's very well written, and I really like the lyrics. Some people may think they're a bit cringy or angsty, and I really don't feel that way. I still thought the song was really well done, and it fits well into the catalog of slower, more melancholy Slipknot songs that have those really heavy in-between sections. And the second one was Medicine for the Dead, and I didn't feel the same as I did about Yen as I do about this one. It's incredibly heavy at the end, but through the song I felt like it was a bit out of place because it came after the first 6 songs, which were all bangers, and then it slowed right down at this song, and I felt like it really put like a little bit of stagnation into the flow of the album. I also want to talk about Acidic. The first 1 minute and 20 or so seconds of this song is some of the best music I think Slipknot ever wrote. Corey's performance is immaculate. It's so good. I wanted to listen to that first minute and 20 seconds over and over again. I loved it. There's a bluesy groove to that song that is not within the rest of Slipknot's catalog at all. But then after that first minute and 20 seconds, there's this odd, like, auto-tune underwater sound to his vocals that really I did not like at all. But I think I'll talk about that in particular in the bad section, because I have more good that I want to speak about. But the last 3 tracks really took a more guitar-driven approach. So the songs Heirloom, Hell, and Decade, they all took that guitar-driven approach with a lot more melody, a lot more riffing. In particular, Hell is going to be an awesome live song that I can't wait to hear next time they come around. It's a signature Slipknot song with the slam and thud that I talked about earlier, and more death metal riffs. Like, I'm telling you, man, this album is full of death metal riffs. For a band that isn't death metal, they play a lot of death metal riffs. And on the song Decade, that is some of the best work that I've ever heard Mick Thompson and Jim Root do together. It was really good. And I love that trading guitar solos at the end. It was very well done. And not something that Slipknot does too often. Even in this album, not a lot of solos. When there are solos, they're not the best solos. Slipknot isn't really like a solos band. They're more about the rhythm and the thud and the heaviness and the aggression and the angst that comes from the vocals, and that's completely okay. This song, Decade, wasn't like that at all. It was really cool. I'm glad that they decided to include that aspect into their music. And the last song, Finale, it was a great way to end off the album. They did a great job writing this. It wasn't a banger per se. It didn't have the great melody lines or the thud or the aggression or the angst, or even the guitar work of the last 3 songs. But it fit right in with the rest of the album. I felt like it was a great way to usher in this new era of Slipknot, because that's what this last song is doing. It's ushering in that new era of Slipknot where they leave Roadrunner and go to another record label or self-produce their own. I'm not really sure what their plan is going forward. Anyway, there are some bad things about this album that I want to talk about, and let's get into that right now. The one that got me the most was on Acidic, and like I said before, there were some things that I wanted to come back to in this segment of the show. After that first minute and 20 seconds, there was this effect put on Corey's vocals that's made him sound like he was underwater. I don't know if it was some auto-tune or something like that. It wasn't very good at all. It ruined it for me. That would have been one of, if not my favorite Slipknot songs ever, if they held with that same rhythm, that same beat, that same cadence that he had before in that first minute and 20 seconds, instead of going into that auto-tune type vocal. The album definitely dips after those first 6 songs. There's still fantastic songs after those first 6, but those first 6 songs had me off the chain, man. I was loving this album, and I was ready to put this in my top 5 albums of the year right after Warranty. And I still don't know about the DJ scratches, man. Like, I get he's there for the live part of the band and he makes them able to sample things live and it sounds really cool, but man, sometimes I can't get on board with the DJ scratches. I don't know if I ever will. Other than that, like, there's not a lot of bad things to say about this album. Adding up each individual score of each individual song and dividing by the number of songs on the album, we come to a final score of 8.9 out of 10, which on the heaviest show in the universe rating scale is an S tier banger. Slipknot's an utterly fantastic band. I wasted too much time crapping on them just to be appreciated by people that look like this. There's no reason to hate on this band whatsoever. You don't have to like them. If you don't like Slipknot, that's fine. Oh, they're not my type of music. No big deal. That's not what I'm saying. To unfairly hate on them, it's absolutely ridiculous. They're legends. What did you think of this album? What do you think of Slipknot? I can't wait to hear what you have to say down below. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next episode of the heaviest show in the universe. Long live metal.